What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Panda here. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming event that's starting this next weekend for the brand new Epic Cultist Lord. Let's dive right in. And welcome back to the channel, guys. Like I said, we're going to be talking about this brand new shard summoning event that's going to be starting on the 19th, which is 4 days away from the time I'm recording this video. You guys will probably see it 4 days away as well. I think this will be the video I post for Monday, which is today. So you hopefully will see this in just a few hours from the time I'm recording it. We'll see what happens though. But we have Abizo, is what I'm going to say, Abyss. I'm going to call her Abyss because that makes more sense. Who is the brand new Epic Cultist Lord coming into the game, and we're going to be able to get her for free through a shard summoning event. Now, if you just recently picked up Watcher of Realms in the last several months, you missed out on what they did at the start of the game, which was actually allowing us to get almost all, actually I think it was all, of the epic lords that are in the game. So you were able to get an Isolde, you were able to get, well, Ein you get for free on day 7, I think, so that was different. But, you know, you were able to get Vladov. Vladov was the last one that they did. Whoops, didn't mean to leap all the way. You know, you were able to get Aeon. That was the first one that I did. Pyros came around. Lunaria was around, I think, before Isolde, maybe after Isolde, I'm not sure. Raiden was one of the ones you could get there. You could get all of the epic lords, and they're seemingly continuing that pattern with the release of the newest epic lord, which is Abizo for the cultist faction. Now, if you already have a Morrigan or a Demi, this is not as exciting, you know. Really, if you even have an Aeon, it's not as exciting either. I do think that Abizo is probably a better champion than Aeon is, from what I've heard and from what I've sort of previewed. But let's quickly dive into Abizo's kit and talk about how you guys can prepare for the upcoming shard summoning event. So we'll start with, I think, what the most obvious thing is, which she is a magic damage dealing mage, and her talent restores 15 rage when an enemy dies in range. This effect can be triggered one time every 0.5 seconds. So I think this is going to be really interesting in places such as Gear Raid 1, because you have a lot of enemies that are piling through. But in most content, you have 3, 4, maybe 5 enemies at a time, and they're all going to die within a very quick succession of each other. And so odds are this isn't going to be as great as it probably sounds on paper. Just like in practice, I feel like you're not going to be able to proc this super efficiently, especially because, you know, even in Gear Raid 1, if you're using someone like a Vierna who is going to just execute, well, you're only going to get 1 trigger of that. But 15 extra rage is still good. Of course, it's an epic. You can't ask for too much, right? Then we have her basic here, which deals 100% AoE damage up to 5 enemies. AoE basic, we love this. This also fits in that Gear Raid 1 status. So if you're pretty new to the game, Abizo is going to be really, really good for you in terms of being able to make progress in Gear Raid 1, because A, she's a mage, and she's in the cultist faction, which comes with a lot of really good champions for Gear Raid 1. For example, we have Aatrox here, who does AoE damage on the ground. We have Iona, who you can get for $5 at the start of the game. She's one of the best mages, one of the best epic mages you can get early on. Greed, who you get on, I believe it's day 30, is another really good epic mage that have actually been shown to be able to solo all the way up to Gear Raid 1 stage 18 literally by himself. We also have people like Cerberus or Reeve. If you happen to get Reeve in the most recent Reeve summoning, you know, he's really good there as well because he does some pretty good damage. Then we have, of course, Vierna. We've got Zealous, Lasir, Kriya. These are all mages that do really well in Gear Raid 1. So getting your hands on Abizo as a leader for them is just going to give you that really nice 10% faction team members basic attributes, as well as the additional 20% damage to anyone affected by a control effect, which a lot of the characters in the cultist faction do, you know, effects that slow or stun or immobilize or something, right? A lot of them have that in their kit, and that's really nice, right? So we've got some really good stuff, some really good combinations here. Abizo, I think, is going to be really good for that. Let's look at our ultimate. So our ultimate deals 100% magic damage 3 times to up to 10 enemies in range. Every 1 target hit grants 1 stack of Psyche Force to the hero. So this is a attack by 3% up to 10 stacks. You can get 30% attack if you hit 10 enemies. Now, if we're using this in the place that we are probably going to be using it, which is Gear Raid 1, this is probably going to be up a good chunk of the time. Now, it is an auto ultimate. It's not a manual, which is a little unfortunate because you're not going to be able to guarantee that you hit 10 enemies. But because of the amount of enemies that are in Gear Raid 1, there's a good chance that you are going to be able to proc a pretty high number, like 6, 7, maybe 8 stacks pretty regularly, which is just nice to have that extra attack. Really, really good. Then we have the passive here. When the hero has that Psyche Force and hits an enemy with a basic attack, it generates a ground effect area which deals 10% damage per second for 3 seconds. Airborne units take half damage instead. So this also ends up going up to 5 seconds and 15% damage. So this is just a nice passive effect, right? You just get a little bit of extra damage. That might be that little push you need to be able to clear that Gear Raid 1 stage that you're trying to push. Let's check out the Awakens, because more likely than not, because in past events you were able to do this, you will be able to get your hands on at least 2, potentially 3 copies of Abizo for free if you go in and try to like get first place in events. We'll of course have to see once we get the actual calendar in the game, which we will make an update video once that is officially available. But more likely than not, you'll be able to get it minimum 2, I would say, probably. Well, minimum 1, but odds are greatly chance you're going to get 2, potentially even 3. So we'll talk about the Awakens because I think it's very, very easy to get Awakens, especially for epics. I know personally I have like 10 epic awakening stones that I'm saving for pulling new champions. So here we have A1. When there is more than 1 target in range, the hero's basic attack has a 25% chance to launch 1 extra energy ball. That's awesome. This is going to be almost every time, right? Almost every time this is going to be able to proc. Of course, it's only going to proc 25% of the time, but that's okay. Especially since it seems like it's pretty basic heavy. There's a good chance that you'll want to do something like, you know, putting on a attack speed type gear set, because you'll want to do as many attacks as possible. Then we have the A2, which is just 5% attack. That's awesome. A3, the ultimate inflicts magic res reduction. This is really, really good. This is a very good debuff to have, especially for places like Gear Raid 1, because you want to be able to reduce the magic resistance to increase your party's damage. So having the ultimate have this bonus of decreasing magic res is very good on a mage. So definitely excited. If you're able to get 3 copies, you only need 1 soul stone for this, which is really good. A4 is 8% crit rate, makes it a little easier to build. And then A5 increases damage dealt by 20% for 10 seconds when a target dies in range. This is okay. I don't think it's that great. I don't foresee Abizo doing like insane amounts of damage, but definitely more of like a support with the magic res reduction. However, because of, you know, the attacking the attack buff, like the stacking attack buff, on top of also having her own magic res reduction, and also having the 20% damage boost with the 25% chance. I mean, I could see her dealing a decent chunk of damage, definitely being able to outperform some of the other epics in the game, like Greed, potentially outperforming people like Iona. We'll have to see though. But ultimately, I think she is in a pretty good place. She's 22 cost, which is not super high, but not super cheap either. I think a lot of the epic mages are like 18, if I remember. Like, let's go look at Greed, right? So Greed is 25, so he actually costs more. But then if we go and we look at Iona, she costs 17, so she costs a little bit less, and is probably, I would say, considered to be higher damage output than Greed is. But ultimately, I think this is a really awesome event. I think Abizo is a great champion. I know I'm definitely going to be doing it just to have her. Even though I do already have my hands on a Morrigan, I do think it's nice to just have the champions available, especially because there's a good chance that Abizo ends up being just a good champion in general. like we have someone like Isolde coming into the game, for example, who, you know, is actually a pretty good tank. She's not a bad tank. Overall, I'm really excited about this. I love getting free champions. Hopefully they make this just as free to play friendly as the most recent fusion with Crodor. It's a little bit different because this will be a shard summoning, so you'll actually get shards to summon. You won't have to use resources to level up the champions and then actually fuse the champions, so it's a little bit different in that regard. But I am really excited to see what becomes of this. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys are excited about it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you liked the video, and we are making that huge push for 5K subscribers still, so every subscriber counts. Please, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends to hit that subscribe button. Send it to your guild. Hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.